shots fired. 1247, copy, shots fired.
I'm angry and I'm sad all at the same time.
We definitely don't want to be MIA.
Wisconsin now, where 3 days of protests have taken over the state capital of Madison.
No charges should be brought against Officer Kinney in the death of Tony Robinson Jr.
This is politics and not justice.
News 3's Valina Jones is live at the scene, and she joins us with the very latest developments. Valina?
The crowd has been growing over the past couple of hours. Members from the Young, Black, and Gifted Coalition are forming a line out here demanding justice.
It's an enormous tragedy. The life of a young man is of the greatest concern.
Describe what the crowd is like out there.
A lot of emotion.
People have the right to be emotional.
We would urge, obviously, that everybody exercise restraint.
That is Madison Chief of Police Mike Koval talking to reporters down at the City County building tonight.
Again, you are taking a live look now at the scene on Willie Street, where a crowd is growing after an officer-involved shooting where a 19-year-old is dead tonight.
I want to be able to make a change. I don't want my son to have died in vain.
I'm gonna let you know right now, I will not stop fighting for Tony Robinson.
Whether they knew him or not, many young people feel very strongly about Tony Robinson and also how he died.
Students from Sun Prairie High School, Robinson's alma mater, joined their peers at Madison East High School.
What do we want? Justice! What do we want it now?
And I understand the family had a really clear message tonight.
Yeah, Michelle, tonight is the first time that we've really seen the family all together, urging for peaceful protests to continue.
It seems like it's just gonna happen and happen and happening. So we're just trying to get our voices heard.
Their voices heard this morning through prayer.
There's nothing wrong with your voice being heard and going outside and protesting. But at the same time, by us all being in church praying together about the situation, it'll get better.
I remember one time when Terrell told me when...
The words so hard to say, but the emotion behind what Tony Robinson's death has meant to his family is visibly audible.
He said we were to live like kings.
15-year-old Jordan, cradled by his mother, Andrea Irwin.
What do you hope to bring to people in light of what has happened?
I want to remind people that collectively we're stronger.
The shooting death of Robinson renews the debate over police body cameras.
The shooting on Willie Street is just the latest incident to spark debate on whether they could help or hurt our community.
But I do think that it's a step forward in the side of transparency.
City Alder and candidate for mayor Scott Resnick wants to fast forward a plan he offered last year for a body camera pilot project, bringing the cameras as are used in other communities like Janesville and McFarland to one City of Madison precinct.
We have to understand there are significant numbers of people in Madison and elsewhere around the country who've got reservations about body cameras.
Dane County Sheriff Dave Mahoney is working on his own study and is part of a White House task force looking at body cameras.
It is going to be a huge conversation piece for this community.
It seems like there has been, on both sides, a rush to judgment a little bit about what transpired here. So how do we discern the truth in that environment?
I think the best thing we have to do is wait.
The landlord of the Willie Street apartment also wants the tenants to pay for cleanup costs from that officer-involved shooting. Those tenants, friends of Robinson's, and he stayed there often. Valina Jones spoke with the landlord today and shares his reasons for this eviction, Valina.
Yeah, Eric, that landlord is giving 2 tenants until April 10th to move out. A family friend of those tenants tells me they are willing to move, but don't feel they should have to pay the cleanup cost.
Now this is just another thing thrown at them that it's just hard to comprehend.
Less than a month since the death of Tony Robinson, with emotions still high, 2 teens living where Robinson was shot are now facing eviction.
We saw people supporting the Madison Police Department. The organizers say that supporting the police department, the primary purpose to educate folks.
And I can tell you what's behind you right now, what's behind the camera, is Sherman Avenue just packed full of people right now.
Tony Robinson's emotionally devastated mother says she continues to live in a state of confusion over her son becoming a national symbol of officer-involved shootings.
Less than a week after her son's funeral,
I was having people tell me about the service and just how moving and powerful it was.
Tony Robinson's mom, Andrea Irwin, is focused on continuing to hold up her 2 sons and daughter. three siblings struggling to understand what happened.
I had to try to explain to her that he's in heaven, and she didn't understand that she can't go to heaven to see him.
The reasons why his mother called 911 weeks before he was shot. Valina Jones spoke with the family's attorney today and joins us in the news center. Valina?
Eric, the incident happened in January, about 8 weeks before Robinson was shot on Willie Street. John Cates, the family's attorney, says while Robinson did not have history of depression, his mother was worried about his emotional state.
He thought that he had really ruined his life.
Weeks before Tony Robinson was shot and killed by Madison police officer Matthew Kinney, concerns over Robinson's emotional state led his mother, Andrea Irwin, to call 911.
Sun Prairie African-American Parent Network leaders say they felt an urgency to hold what they call an honest race relations conversation.
With his two sons looking on, Sun Prairie African-American Parent Network President Jerry Ruffin recalled his son's January meeting with police after they felt like they were being racially profiled while driving.
The sergeant on duty was there, and he sat down and had a good conversation with me, my wife, and my two sons.
We start with Jessica Arp tonight. And Jessica, can you explain what kind of process the DA has gone through to get here?
Well, Lozana said he's reviewed all of the reports and evidence in the case. He, at one point, said he held more than one meeting with the medical examiner's office, and he's met with investigators. And legal experts say his decision tomorrow will hinge on what the evidence he's seen can prove.
Really, the district attorney's office is tasked with saying, if we charge this as a crime, can we prove it?
Hosanna's seen more than 1,300 documents, 23 hours of video, as well as crime scene photos and 911 calls turned over after a Department of Justice investigation.
No charges. A Madison police officer cleared of wrongdoing in the shooting death of Tony Robinson.
Now a community deeply shaken fights for change. Our live team coverage is throughout Madison with Valina Jones downtown, where Tony Robinson supporters are marching.
And Matthew Simon at Willie Street, where Robinson's family spoke a short time ago. But first, News 3's Jessica Arp was in the room as the Dane County DA announced the reasons behind his decision. Jessica?
Well, the entirety of the explanation from the district attorney today took about 26 minutes, but it carried the weight of months of the investigation and years of perspective. Dane County DA Ishmael Ozan, the state's first black district attorney, set the stage for his decision, saying his life experience led him not to make his decision lightly.
I am the son of a black woman who still worries about my safety from the bias of privilege and violence that accompanies it.
Now our team has been live on Willie Street throughout this announcement today. Matthew Simon is still there, where he's sharing words from Tony Robinson's family.
But first, let's go to Valina Jones, who followed a march of Robinson supporters from Willie Street up to the state capitol. Valina?
Yeah, Eric and Michelle, right now we are stopped on West Doty Street.
Well, let's turn to Matthew Simon, who has more from Tony Robinson's family. Matthew?
Hi there, Eric and Michelle. Willie Street back to normal now, but that was not the scene. About 4:30 this afternoon, the intersection behind me that Ingersoll right there shut down. Protesters were in the street lying down with so much emotion, and then the family spoke. So many emotional moments from them as well.
I will miss him the rest of my life when you guys go home and you don't deal with this anymore. This is a forever thing with me.
The Boys and Girls Club president, Michael Johnson, has really been a voice for the community and an advisor to the Robinson family.
And just moments after the DA's announcement, Michael Johnson called for calm.
The district attorney laid out what the facts are. I think the community will get an opportunity to review those facts, and I think the dialogue now starts. I just hope that as we, as a community, respond, that we make sure that we respond with peaceful intentions.
Also, the head of the Wisconsin Professional Police Association called today's decision appropriate.
You know, up until today, all there was speculation about what happened in that stairwell that night between Tony Robinson and Officer Matt Kenny. The DA today put that speculation to rest. The investigation showed Kenny, a 12-year veteran of the Madison Police Department, shot Robinson after he was assaulted. Officer Kenny, according to the report, was punched in the head by Robinson. Kenny fell backward, lost his balance, and feared and painted a picture of a struggle in that stairwell and the fear by Kenny that he might lose his gun to Robinson and his life.
It was a very harrowing experience and a very tragic outcome, even though today is the right result, legally speaking. it still doesn't change the fact that today is a tragic outcome, not only for the Robinson family, for Matt Kenny, but also for this community and how we deal with this going forward. And you know, to answer your question, Officer Kenny is looking forward to going back to work. He is very deeply committed to serving this community. This is his calling. This is something he loves to do. And I know he's eager to get back doing the job he loves.
Now, how quickly exactly that will happen remains to be seen. There's obviously the possibility of a civil suit. The criminal possibility obviously was taken off the table today by the DA Ozan, but the civil lawsuit still is a possibility. And exactly what capacity he returns to the Madison Police Department also remains to be seen. Eric and Michelle, back to you.
All right, Dave, thank you very much.
And Madison police officers face serious threats today. Our News 3 investigative reporter Adam Schrager broke this story this afternoon.
And he joins us from the News Center with the very latest on that story, Adam.
Eric and Michelle, members of Madison's Common Council found out about the threats in an email today from Madison Police Department Captain Kristen Roman. She's the community outreach coordinator for the department. She's the link to the city's alders. Her note reads, quote, "We have received information from reliable sources that threats to shoot and kill officers have been made. One such threat involves purported statements from gang members / associates that they intend to riot immediately following the DA announcement, and that threats to attack and to kill the first cop seen have also been levied." Police Chief Mike Koval said his department receives threats with these kinds of events, and while they will vet anything serious, they can't be paralyzed by this kind of response.
You take those things with a grain of salt, because in fact they're being vetted from throughout the country. We've seen this play out. Sometimes they're real and measured, other times they're more open-ended and obtuse. So we'll just take those and develop those intels as those leads would dictate, and then deal with them specifically. But we don't want to be alarmist about that, because that isn't the kind of way we police.
Captain Roman's email also detailed how Madison police will handle protesters to the DA's decision going forward. Resisting police will no longer simply be defined by physical combative action, but also by what she called passive responses, like going limp and refusing to move. She asked the alders to share that information with those they know who may be participating in any protests coming up.
We're getting our first look at the events that took place the night of the shooting.
We feel like it tells an important story, a timeline that we heard from District Attorney Ishmael Ozan, but can now see for yourselves. 6:37 p.m., 9 minutes after the first 911 call, we see Madison officer Matt Kenny pulling up to 1125 Williamson Street. A minute later, he goes in. For the next 19 seconds, we have no view of the interaction between Kenny and Tony Robinson. You can't see the stairwell where they first encountered, but you can hear an audible thud. After those 19 seconds, another sound, this one undeniable.
1247,
you can hear those 7 shots from another sergeant's dash camera as well.
Keep on walking, keep on talking.
Surrounded by hundreds protesting District Attorney Ishmael Ozan's decision not to indict Officer Matt Kenny in Tony Robinson's shooting death.
And I just want to say this is politics and not justice.
Robinson's family said there was no justice for Tony.
When they decided Officer Matt Kenny was not going to be indicted for brutally murdering my 19-year-old son, they thought that this battle was over. What they did not realize in the night that they took my son from me is that I am not the type to be defeated.
The family's new lawyers saying after hearing the DA's facts, they believe Officer Kenny created the confrontation leading to Robinson's death.
Even though he was instructed to wait for backup and to not create a dangerous situation. But more troublingly, there are a lot of unanswered questions about this shooting.
Many marching from Willie Street to the Capitol wondering the same thing as the family. Why 7 bullets and mentions of drug use?
There are few words that I can put in to describe my feeling as to how he's being demonized.
My son dying will be forever remembered as the day that we are going to change history and not be the ones to be put down and killed anymore.
Amen.
This is not over.